welcome, welcome to Unity on this fourth day of Advent. I just love Advent. It's the season of renewal, restoration, and we remember we are reborn in the Christ Spirit. So glad to have you all here. And I hope you at home on Zoom. I'm so glad to see so many faces on Zoom, Andre and Catherine, and all of you, and welcome. Welcome to Unity. Welcome to our first timer. I'm so glad that you're joining us on this fourth Sunday of Advent. Oh, here we are. Ready or not. Well, I was rushing around this morning and everything, but then the sunshine was so bright and beautiful. This is the day that the Lord has made, so just let us rejoice. Rejoice, joy, that is our theme for Advent today. And as I stand up here before you, having been sick all week, I am filled with the joy and the strength that that brings. And we're going to be talking about that today. Oh, I want to start, before we do the opening statement, I want to start with stepping in. This is something I do in NIA, and you can stay seated to do it or stand up if you wish. But we're just going to be here now. So we're going to start with your hands towards the earth. We are here now. We feel the energy of the earth. Now come home to yourself. We are here. I am here. And we honor our community. It is so good to be together. And raise your hands a little bit more. We honor our teachers. Oh, I am so grateful. Every one of you in here is a teacher. I guess I should name all of you. Then we honor Unity, our organization. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, our founders. And then all that is. Bring back to your heart, and we step in, ready to go. And we say our opening statement together. Together, there is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent. So all four candles are going to be lit today. Joy. We have been living in the truth of these divine ideas. Faith, peace, love, and now joy. Always and forever available to us whenever we need. So I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let Russ.
Yes, we continue Advent. And to lead us into this, I had an experience of joy. I'm going to share that joy with you. I'm in a department store, and I'm walking down the aisle, and I see a little girl sitting in the basket, and she looks at me and goes, "Hi!" I was like, "Hi!" And then, as only a child can do, she turned and whispered so the whole store could hear. She said, "Santa knows I've been a good little girl." So, I'm not totally sure she was making for Santa, or I had come in the middle of a conversation. But I just said, yes, he does. And then we're all. So, this being our fourth week of Advent, the week of joy, I want us to acknowledge and hold all those wonderful boys and girls that are so excited this week that joy is expressing. But also to know that joy is expressing whether this big or this big. And whether your faith is Christian, or as we know today at sunset begins Hanukkah. Mm-hmm. And that the month of December is filled with other ceremonies and events of all the world's religions. That we acknowledge all those people who are experiencing joy as we move into this week that affirms the recognition that the Christ is born, that Jesus Christ, our way shore, was that perfect expression of the Christ. And that as we move forward in this week, that we become that expression and that life of joy, that we share through our laughter, through our enthusiasm, but through that ultimate experience of knowing that we've come through, as Jeannie said, we've come through this recognition of hope, this recognition of peace, this recognition of love, and now we're the expression of that, and we're expressing that as joy.
I know, I can't get it on.
So as I light this, let your joy shine. Let it shine brightly. Shining knowing, just as the wise men recognized that east star, that star that told them that the prophecy was fulfilled, that they had been waiting for that awakening, that expression of the Christ, and that we are that expression of the Christ, and that same star of Bethlehem that shone in the sky reflects and represents our inner illumination. And that as we share our joy, we share that illumination.
Yes.
And so it is. So, let's do our opening prayer. So if you're willing, if you'd like to close your eyes, if you want to just soften them, whatever's more comfortable for you. Just take that great breath of inhalation in and exhale and just relax in. Releasing all the concerns, all the high activity that we've been involved with in this month. And just allow yourself to settle in and know that there's one power and one presence, the divine. This beautiful divine expression that is all, in all, and that no matter what, cannot be separated out. The divine is
Recording in progress.
Is what is expressing. And as we acknowledge that divine, we acknowledge that divine is in us. And that in us is all the experience that has ever been, that ever will be, but most certainly what is here now. And now we embrace and hold that one of those qualities, one of those attributes of the divine is joy. And that we are that joy. And that we're the wonderful echo of God in action as we share that joy. So as we move forth into the world, we become that representative of that divine face. And that our joy touches others so that they may too recognize their own inner light, their own inner divine nature. And we give thanks that we have this community to come share with, but that we have this recognition that that illumination is our illumination. That divine nature is our divine nature. And with that we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen.
Amen. I really looked up a lot of Bible verses that had to go with joy, and I love them. You shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and hills before you shall burst in song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Can you imagine being in that world where the trees are singing and the hills are clapping? And so, and then another one, of course, my favorite from Psalm 100. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord in gladness and come into his presence with singing. So let's have some singing, and I'm hoping everything is going to work really good this morning.
Oh, I love this song. That's my favorite Christmas video.
Now, I can't sing like that, but I can dance. Pretty good. Oh my goodness. Well, this has really been a meaningful meaningful Advent to me, and I'm hoping that our Advent series has inspired you to imagine and feel and sense these 4 divine ideas: faith, love, peace, and joy. Tapping into our own divinity, we know what is unchanging. We know truth. We sense more than the assurance of faith, more than the warmth and harmony of love, and the calm of peace. And then there's the happiness of joy, but we sense more than that. Imagine the silent holy night. Imagine, what comes to mind to me, I don't know about you all, but it's the shepherds in the field and the star, and how silent it was, and what a starry night it was. So that's such a stillness in that night, that scene. And when you go into that stillness and receive the indescribable experience of living and being, faith, peace, love, and joy. Now today we're going to take a deep dive into joy, into that principle of joy. The daily word today was, of course, joy. Joyfully, I celebrate my oneness with the divine. When I face challenging times, I draw from the inner wellspring of my divinity, most especially the principle of joy. I have within me the power to overcome these challenges. This day, this moment, I joyfully celebrate that I am fully divine and fully human. So let's start with the challenges. As I was recovering from that stomach bug this week, oh, little did I know last Sunday that I was going to get this sick. Everything changed. And in the midweek, but fortunately on Sunday night I'd been inspired and I'd started this talk, so I was going along with it, and then I got sick, and then on Wednesday I was asked Chris, how am I going to talk about joy this Sunday? Man, all those Bible verses and the affirmations, they just sounded like wishful thinking to me, Then my son called me, and he called from Oakland, and he had just gotten back from snowboarding in Tahoe. And he said, Mom, I gotta tell you, you just wouldn't, see if you can imagine this. They had a great big old snowstorm a week ago up in Tahoe, and it was nothing but powder. And so Mitch is 45 now, he's still snowboarding, I don't know how. But anyway, so he's snowboarding, and the tip of his board catches the powder, and bam, he flips. Oh, wow. And he's just on his back, kind of underneath the ski lift, he said. And the board is straight up because your feet are strapped to the board. Oh. And he was describing this scene, and I felt we were just laughing hysterically. And we were remembering when I took him to learn to ski in Flagstaff when he was, I don't know, about 13 or so. And he said, Mom, I looked like you falling in the snow. And he said, and then he kept trying to get up. Well, there was powder, right? So he put his arm down and he just kept sinking. And he just said he just ended up laughing. And so it was so much fun. And then you know what? As the phone call ended, I went, wow, I feel better. I've been there laughing. I feel better. And that's what we say. Healing is just feeling better. But you have to notice it. You can't just go on with it. But I noticed I felt better. And
Jeannie,
yes.
no audio coming through the Zoom.
So I'm talking about challenges. Catching you up on Zoom. I've been sick this week, and I've been working to get my joy back. So I felt better. And what happens when you start physically feeling a little bit better, you just notice that, then your mind quits spinning all the stories and the misery. I went from yuck to happy with my emotions. And then my spirits were lifted. All the realms, body, mind, emotion, spirit, it just all works. Has that ever happened to you? You are feeling down or glum or depressed, then some little thing happens and you feel better. Some small thing, just a small thing, makes a difference. It was just that phone call for me. Now, what do you feel or notice when you notice joy? What do you feel? I was trying to think, how would I describe that? Well, to me, joy is, I can feel a twinkle in my eye. I can feel a light in my eye. I can feel a smile. You know, you can feel your smile on your face. You know it. I feel emotional pleasure. I feel kind of a sense of vitality. I can get in touch with all of my energy. It's kind of a vibratory aliveness of being alive, you know? So instead of just having experiences, I have an awareness that I'm actually creating my world and my experiences. And you know, then you kind of feel a little bit more in control of things. It's not happening to you, you're in it. In other words, you're beginning to be in touch with your divinity, your own creative powers, your own divine powers. Now, the metaphysical meaning of joy is the happiness of God that God expresses through his perfect idea, man. You know, God, we say in unity, is the idea that contains all divine ideas. And man is really his perfect idea of expression. And joy is that expressing. Joy and gladness are strength-giving, especially when the mind is fixed on things of spirit. So there's an affirmation. The joy of the Lord is my strength. That's from an Old Testament Nehemiah. Now, I was definitely using that all week and weekend. Like my sister came in from Dallas and we had a big family to-dos and I could only do what I could do, but we went to Garden Gardens last night. And was I really feeling strong? No, I was pretty shaky. But the joy of being with family and being together was wonderful. Now I had to kind of drop, I was gonna have this grand dinner and do all these grand things. I had to kind of drop a lot of my, plans, better laid plans of mice and men, man. I just had to let that go. But the essence of it was just being together and having fun. It was pretty amazing. The stomach bug just sort of became a manageable thing that I could overcome. Now, though then, if you want to talk about challenges, think about what happened this week. 40 tornadoes in Louisiana. I mean, we know what's going on in Ukraine. Anyway, just turn on the news and you just feel lucky, right? And I kept thinking, well, at least I'm not in Louisiana, So, but the origin of this affirmation is Nehemiah in the Old Testament. Now, Nehemiah was a royal cupbearer to the king of Persia. And he got to know the Jewish people that were in exile there. And he really developed a compassion for them. And he realized that Jerusalem had been left in ruins and the wall was down, the temple. And so Nehemiah, the king granted him permission to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the wall and the temple. And he did that. He made that happen. And he told the Jewish people, do not grieve, but the joy of the Lord is your strength. And I just think that's an amazing, in a dire circumstance, he was able to turn something around. Now, that's not just a small thing to do all that rebuilding, but sometimes it is just the small thing that turns it around. My divine nature, my presence within, leads and guides me to a new awareness on each never before lived brand new day. I love that saying. Every day is never before lived. We get to start over. I can give birth to a new way of being for myself. And here's another Bible verse that I found. For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes with the morning. And how many times has that happened to you all? You go to bed and it just seems not great, but you wake up. Okay, now you got a new start. You've got more left to do. So, now at Christmas, it's sort of like a transformation, this overnight thing. And at Christmas time, we have a lot of classic Scrooge and Grinch stories about that, don't we? So, weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes with the morning. Well, I looked up the old Grinch. I love the classic story, don't you? And of course, I rewatched Jim Carrey, and he's hysterical. But remember when he stole all the stuff from the Whoville, and he got it on that sleigh, and somehow that poor dog got that sleigh up the mountain. And you know what the Grinch was going to do? He was just going to throw it over the mountain and just forget about it, right? But just as he was beginning to do that, he heard a sound. He heard a sound. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was very merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. When he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing for joy without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed and his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And as we know, it all ended in a glorious day. I love that story. And you may remember this summer, I talked about movies in August. We did Imagination and Metaphysics, and we did Inside Out. It's a really classic, good movie. And in it, the heroine, Joy, as an emotion, you know, because what they do is they go inside the young girl's mind, and she's got all these feelings. Well, Joy has to deal with sadness. And at first, Joy thinks she's got to put sadness aside. You know, just stay out of the way. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything. But through the journey of these memories, the little girl moves to San Francisco, and she gets very sad, and a lot of these memories get lost. And Joy is trying to save the day with sadness, and here's Joy saying, look, just stay in that circle. Just stay there. Just don't go anywhere. But as you all know, they go wandering through the subconscious, and they learn that they have to work together. They have to work together. And Joy had to learn to coexist with sadness. She even found that sadness had a purpose. You know, the sadness and acknowledging it is what brought the family together that was in the story. As Pema Chodron says, we can hold both joy and sadness. In life, we are just celebrating and actually mourning all the time. It's really both. It's both. So there's a transformation that goes on here to come to joy. And this is a diagram that David Toms speaks here often, a Unity minister. And she brought this to me, and I'm so glad I found this for the talk. So this is a pyramid of transformation, and we start just simply with awareness, noticing something, what needs to change, and then we are responsible for creating our own feelings and thoughts, and we know that in Unity. That's one of our 5 principles. And then there's a forgiveness. We have to let go of shame and blame. And then we come to peace, feeling safe and calm. And then there's just joy at the top. That's the reward. I'm here. And notice what it takes to climb this pyramid. It's the wonder. I'm open and curious. So here I was sick on the couch, and I'm asking Chris, how am I gonna handle this talk this week? But then I really was open to what was happening and just to noticing. That's really been my big thing this week, this year actually. Our word for the year, you all, is wonder. That has been our word for the year. And if you're open in wonder, it is so amazing what you can receive. So, now there are so many Bible texts, as I said, with joy. It's in both the Old and the New Testament. Ask and you will receive so that your joy may be complete. Well, that's just kind of like standing there at the bottom of this pyramid with awareness and being open and being curious. But curious is asking and understanding with clarity what you desire. And we see the top is joy. And I've also found this verse and I really enjoy it. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. And because that's the deal, once you've got the joy, you've got to radiate. And I believe Russ used that word, illuminate. We radiate and we illuminate. Once I choose joy, I commit to radiating that light. Now, last week, I started the stages of the Advent journey. And I want to complete that now as it fits with what I think this pyramid was about. So you know, in the Christmas story, that's kind of been blended together, as I told you all last week from the Gospels. So it begins with a renunciation, just a letting go. And then stage 2 is the wisdom of the star, because the Magi, and we talked about what the star really was. Ken shared that with us. But the Magi started out to the Jerusalem and Bethlehem way before everything happened. They were ready to go. And Gabriel, the angel, visited Zechariah and Elizabeth to tell them about John the Baptist. And then Gabriel also visited Mary and told her what she was in store for. And Mary and Elizabeth shared their pregnancies. And so in faith, they just allowed what was happening to them. But then there was Joseph. And you know, Joseph had to make a decision. Oh my goodness. You know, am I the father of this child? What's going on? But then he chose and committed to staying and taking care of this family. And then there was the trip to Bethlehem, but it culminated with stage 8, love. This was the birth scene. Gabriel gives the shepherds the good news, and the shepherds come to the manger and honor the Christ. So that's that. Now I want to tell you the rest of the story. So after the birth of Jesus, and see, this is what the important thing is. There is Christmas Day, but there's after. What are we going to do? We've come to this pinnacle of joy, and as we say, now we've got to radiate and illuminate. So what are we going to do, and how do we do that? Well, here are these stages, and this is right after the Christmas story. First, they had the naming of Jesus. They went to the temple, and that's in the Bible, and this is, you know, so they went through the ritual that they were supposed to do with a new child. So there's the power of order. And then the wise men visited them, and they had first seen Herod. And you know, Herod wanted the wise men to turn this new child in. And instead, the wise men warned Joseph and said, you might need to leave the country. But the thing of it is, you know, Herod was big and powerful at that time. But through the wise men and Joseph, they took their own power and said, no, we're not going to go with what Herod does. We're going to keep this child safe. And so then there was the flight to Egypt. And you know, Hypatia Hesperiid calls that the power of zeal. It's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes for this family. And so they went to Egypt. And sadly, now, you've got to understand this, in adversity, sometimes the bad guys seem to be winning. So Herod did massacre innocent children, but Jesus remained, and his family remained safe because they went to Egypt. But we have to understand that it's not just a walk in the park when you decide to go for safety. Bad things can still happen. But then we come to the final stage, life, the power of life. Herod couldn't be sustained. He died, and the family returned to Nazareth, and then we know, so to speak, the rest is history. Then Jesus grew up in his ministry. Unbelievable. So, but that is sort of like, if you think about that pyramid, so we've come to joy, and now through our awareness of our life energy, our life power, because in a way that is really what joy is, just an awareness of life energy. And we hold on to that and do whatever we have to do with order and with zeal. And as you know, Charles said, do what is yours to do. And realize your own power. So I think if you really think about these 4 phases, this is what we need to be taking into the new year, even after this Christmas day. So I have one final image of the manger. And if you notice, in the place of the Christ child is a mirror. And look into the manger, that's you. Put yourself in the manger, in place of the Christ child. Oh my goodness. And I say, may you have faith, peace, love, and joy this season and all of your days.